So we're just going to run through icon by icon, show you so dealing with anomaly information you can glean from the help guides that you'll find, but it's very basic functionality at the end of the day. Here's the employee planner. It's the planner for the employee. It will show you what work they have scheduled both in the future and what's happened in the past. Here we can see we've got absence codes and what days and hours they've been meant to be working. And you can click on the day and get a summary on the right hand side where you might want to delete the shift, meaning they're not going to be working that day, change the shift to change it to a different shift in case they're going to clock in at different times, or indeed pre-plan overtime, where you can say, okay, from the end or from before the start of their shift, they're allowed to do a certain number of hours overtime at a specific rate. And in that way, you won't have to deal with the anomaly after they've done the overtime. If you don't plan it in advance, that's fine. You'll have an anomaly to deal with where you can approve that overtime anyway.
Sorry, can I just ask quickly, is there a way to allow them to do overtime before a shift but not afterwards, for instance?
We could program the work rules to work that way, but in the way the system's currently been set up, it will allow people to work before or after their shift. It will just cause an anomaly for you to approve it. So I'm assuming you've got a specific cross-section of employees that you wouldn't consider them turning up early as overtime, whereas them working late might be overtime.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, we could always look at doing an additional work rule that does that. We'd have to bounce that off both Darren and Natalie because they're the ones driving it, and there may be a better solution for that. What cross-section of employees do you deal with?
Matt, you're still muted.
I think you might have lost his mic.
Well, I think it looks like he's muted.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't pick up that you were waiting for a response from me on something.
Oh, right. Yeah. Which employees are you dealing with, Matt? Because this might not be relevant to everybody in the business, so we wouldn't want to apply it to everybody in the business. Have you got a specific sub-department?
This is Roscope that I'm talking about, but yeah, just naturally we'll have guys who their start time might be 6 o'clock and they'll come in at 5:29.
I see, yeah.
Or at 7 o'clock and they'll come in at 6:29.
Yeah.
So
just to show you
half an hour,
what the system does around that, here's the back end of the system that you guys won't really see. But there's a number of different work rules that might be applied to people. And we could either have an allowance at the beginning or end of the day, which is the standard at the moment. If I turn up 15 minutes early, in fact, I have to turn up 31 minutes early before I get any overtime, or I have to hang about 31 minutes late before I get any overtime, unless it's planned in manually by a manager. So that's the standard across the business as it stands. If we wanted to say, regardless of how early they turn up at the beginning of the day, we don't want the system to automatically give them overtime if it's more than half an hour. That's fine. We can create another work rule that's applicable to this cross section of employees, and within there, on a daily basis, we will just say it goes to unpaid overtime at the beginning of the day, but could be overtime at the end of the day. Does that make sense?
Yeah, got you. Thank you.
So I will have that conversation with Natalie. It's probably something that she's just not aware of for the Roscope employees. I should have time to create an additional work rule for you guys this afternoon, and then she can apply that to the Roscope people if need be.
Okay, thanks.
Matt, it's Darren. Do you mind just dropping that into an email exactly what you want so we can just have a quick look at it, see if we can get it done today, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's only a 5-minute job from my perspective, but Natalie's going to have to go and apply that to all the relevant people. Okay, good question, Matt. Thanks for that. So what can we do when we're looking at the employee planner? You notice that we've got our summary on the right. If I wanted to drag over a period of days, it will show you a summary of every day in there. Generally, if I need to make a specific change for a specific employee, though, I'm going to find the employee, find them on their planner, go and select the day I want to amend, and we've got a load of options down the right-hand side as to what I could do. Maybe I want to change this employee's permanent working pattern from now to a specific date, or until the end of time, or until I tell it to change it to a different working pattern. To do that, I can insert a roster. So for that example, I'm going to use as of the 8th, insert roster, and maybe I want that employee to be working a different working pattern. So I'm just going to go with this office one here. Let's go with a part-time one because the hours all look different there. Base weeks are if there is a roster that has more than 1 week in it, and that maybe I work one pattern on week 1, a different pattern on week 2, and then it goes back to week 1. I would have an option of an additional week to say we're starting from week 2. I can leave the end date blank if I want that to be the employee's roster until I tell it to change again, or I can say you're going to work on this roster until a set date. End of March, for example. Hit submit. And you'll notice the shifts that are on each day are now a different shift. So other things I can do down here, copy period 2. Maybe I've just gone and done something for this employee that I want to apply to other employees within their sub-department. Maybe I want to make everybody in that sub-department work this week in exactly this pattern. I can do copy period 2, and I get a list of the other employees. I can then select specific employees, hit submit, and that will go and insert those changes just to those people's weeks. Typically, when you're doing planning, you want to do it on the group planner anyway, because it gives you an overview of all of your employees within the relevant selection group. Where I want to add in a shift where one doesn't already exist, I'll just go and remove this non-working day shift. Non-working day shift will just automatically assign time to the relevant overtime code. Enter your employee ID. Day where there's no non-working day shift, in that it's completely empty, it will just cause a call out anomaly rather than a non-working day anomaly. The difference is arbitrary. Here I've got the option to insert a shift, and we've got our list of shifts that are available in the system, meaning I would be expected to work from 7 till 3:30 on that Saturday. I can always also book absences here. So maybe I know an employee is going to be off on a hospital day or something along those lines on the 1st of March. By clicking book absence, it will default to holiday, but you'll be able to land on a dashboard to requests. So you won't have to plan these. You'll just say accept or decline by a request. But within this list, we've got a number of different reasons why somebody might be off for other reasons. Maybe I know somebody's not coming in on that day because they're on a training day. Hit submit. If I don't give the system 28 days notice, it will warn you, and then you can just hit submit anyway. And now when that employee doesn't clock in on the 1st of March, you're not going to have to deal with an anomaly for that day because TMS knows in advance that they're on a training day elsewhere. Similarly, on a specific day, if I click change shift, just for the one day, I can insert a different shift for that day. You will notice there's the option to use different views for layouts. Generally, I tend to find the month view is the most pleasing on the eye for most people, though. And should you want to know what all the crazy colors on the screen mean, you've got a color key where you see this little droplet, which will explain everything.